Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman. I am the streamer for this stream, and we work on a Django app, and we're going to do that again tonight and get into this project that I've been doing for a few months at this point, which is all about building a homeschool application for my family. And we've been going through a process of creating an onboarding flow for this project, and I want to take a break from that today. And I want to take a break because I got a round of feedback from my customer, who happens to be my spouse as well, and took a lot of my application, went through the steps of it and what she liked and didn't like, and there were some things about it that she wanted changed. So since she's the one driving how this application works and the ideas behind it, I thought it made sense to incorporate her feedback as early as I can. Before I go down a path that is not going to be something that she wants, because that's the person I'm trying to satisfy. So that's what we're working on tonight. I've got a whole milestone of issues, and we'll tackle some of them. I don't know that we'll work through all of them. I doubt we'll have time. Some of them are easy, some of them are way complicated, and we'll talk through each of them as appropriate. If you want to ask questions, there's a chat over on the side. Feel free to do so. So you can ask me anything about Python or Django or web development. All of those kind of questions are fair game. Do keep it civil, please. I think most people do. And if you want to keep in touch with me after the stream on other forums, there are other places where I am on the internet. I have a Twitter handle that is MBLehman. I have a Discord that you can find below if you have questions that don't fit in a Twitter tweet. And I also post all this content to YouTube. So if you search for Matt Lehman on YouTube, you should be able to find a long playlist of everything that I've done for this particular app. So if you want to go back and see some of the things that are there and explore some of the features that I've added, you're welcome to do that. We're also working from an Git repository that is available on GitHub. So under my GitHub account of github.com/mblehman, you can find this homeschool repository, which has all the code that we go over. So that's another way you can keep track of me. Finally, there is a Patreon site. So if you are getting enough value out of this that you want to throw a few dollars my way to say thanks, or just because you appreciate what I'm doing, you can do that. I have a variety of tiers that let people support me. And I'm thankful for the Patreons that I do have of Mark and Patrick and Rob. Thank you for contributing and helping in that way. Okay, so that's the introductions out of the way. Let's get into the guts of what we're doing. And I'll explain a bit about the way I went about this process so you understand even how it got here. I think it's really important for an application to engage with customers, because if you don't do that, then what are you doing? Maybe it's a side project, maybe it's something for yourself. That's fine, nothing knocking that. But if you do have external customers, the people that are using your application that are not you, which is most applications in the world, I would imagine, then you should be making sure you listen to the people that you are doing this for. So this past weekend, I had my wife look at the application. I'd gone through a first round of feedback, done a bunch of stuff on it, and she had the opportunity to do that. So I logged her into the app, I filled it with the data that she expects to have on her first experience, and just let her have at it. And my role in that process was to listen. I had a piece of paper, and I was trying my best. I would ask questions where I didn't quite understand what she was going for, but never trying to pump ideas into her head. Is more of a, I heard you say this, is this what you meant kind of thing. Just trying to shake out exactly what she meant on certain things, because one of the things that you might encounter when working with customers is the communication barrier between you have a framework in your head of how you think something should work, and that might be different from your customer's thinking process on this, especially if you are a programmer type and you know all the guts of your project, and that's not where they are. So we went through this process of, she was at the application, she was clicking around and imagining herself going through her flow as a homeschool teacher and the kind of things that she would need to do. And as she went through those steps, she found things that either bothered her or didn't quite fit the tasks that she needed to accomplish, or just optimizations that she knew that was going to get in her way immediately when using the app. So she's not using it day to day for her homeschool stuff. We're sort of still trying to reach the minimum viable product stage, and also kind of coincide with our own scheduling here at home. So I've got this list of things that she said that I wrote down on my piece of paper, and after that I kind of took it and distilled it into a GitHub milestone and translated it into all the technical speak of here's exactly where she was referring to this and what she needed and so on. So now we have a list of issues to work from, and I'm just going to start going through them. You'll see my process of how I would tackle each of these, and we'll see how far we get. So I think my strategy is probably going to be to look at what are the easiest ones to tackle first. And that may or may not be easy to decipher right away, especially some of these that might be easy may not come through clearly on the stream. For instance, this one about fixing highlighting on a print view, I don't know how well that will come through. So this is definitely the easiest one though, so let's start here. Her first comment to me was that the application has this notion of a home page, and it's the destination that I think she'll be spending most of her time in, but in its current incarnation, it's really serving a single purpose, and then that purpose is to provide an entire week's worth of educational material and scheduling for her. And so the name that I chose in the navigation bar just didn't ring very true for her. So let's bring up the app, and it's on port 5000. We'll get up the app here. So you can see it's this week view schedule, and she kept trying to navigate to this page and was struggling to do it quickly. And her reasoning was that home, the word home, was not very indicative of what this page is. And so for now, we're going to rename this label from home to week. And that may change in the future. This is the first version of this application, so this default view may be greatly expanded in the future. Might have more features that make it more than a week view. So the home name might be appropriate at some other point in time, but for today and for its current purpose, week was more fitting. So to fix that, we're going to go find the appropriate template and change it. So that template, I usually consider those to be navigation bars, and there is a primary navigation, which is the thing on the top, which is going to appear whether you're logged in or logged out. And I consider this bar below it as a sub navigation or a secondary navigation. So I believe there's a template called subnav, and there is. And you can see that this subnav template only appears when the user is authenticated. So that means when they're logged in. And so we have this place to change this to week. Now, curiously, I had forgotten that this code was even in here to do some conditional logic. So what it appears today, we changed it to week there. But if the user has a first name associated with their account, which this testing user does not, then it will display something else. It'll display the user's first name plus school. So we made that change. And now if we come back to the application, now it says Matt's school. So, honestly, I don't know that this still makes sense in line with her thinking. So if this view of home is actually weak, it probably makes sense to take out the customization that's there until I hear otherwise. I think this was probably some discussion we had earlier when we thought that page was going to do more, and it is now doesn't make nearly as much sense. So we'll change that to be weak all the time. And so the particular icon doesn't make as much sense anymore of using this little home icon, but it's okay. So now we've got the change, and all we did was change the template. And so that's one fix out of the way. So we'll say rename the home button to weak. And that fixes, it was issue number 77. By doing that, by using that fixes label in my git commit message, that is a signal to GitHub to mark that issue as closed when I push it up. So I committed my change in Git, and I did a git push, that's what this GP shortcut is, which pushed up to my master branch. And now, I'll do a refresh here because it's not showing it. But now you can see that I closed this issue with that commit. So that's one down. That was the easy one. So we can take that and come back to our milestone and refresh the page and see what's left. One of them's down, 9 to go. So what else is an appropriate one that we could tackle? And well, let me talk through them to give some context of things that we might be doing in the future on future sessions for some of these harder ones. This one at the top here was very specific to a timing issue. When the schedule appears on the site, we were looking at this on a weekend, and so all of the stuff was mostly done when we were looking at the previous week. We were looking at this, and there were a couple of tasks that were incomplete. And the challenge is that since the school week was over, she didn't want any tasks that were in that week to still be considered viable for that week because they're done with school. It's the weekend. So I need to modify the logic so that future weeks contain anything that did not get completed in the school week. So all that's to say, this one is not a super easy one to tackle, or it's so into the weeds of the business logic of what I'm working with that we're not going to tackle that. So we'll ignore that one for now. This next one was about there are times where there will be courses that aren't meeting for that portion of the school year. Maybe a school wants to be on kind of a trimester or quarterly schedule, and a way that will be possible to control that in the application is by setting the course's specified meeting days to be nothing. And as it is right now, when a course has no meeting days, it's still displaying in the view. And so I need to change that to do an extra check on those courses and make sure that they are only displayed if they are meeting for that day. That's another thing we can do. This highlighting one is a CSS style issue that we can fix. And then we have just some alignment stuff of something that was centered to her didn't really make sense, so we can adjust some headers. And this was an interesting one. I had put buttons on the left, and let's go to an example so we can see it. So if we click add a new task, I've got this button thing lined up left aligned. and she made it clear that she actually naturally would want this button to be down here. So this is a good one to catch pretty early because I only have a few forms right now, and if I was changing the button position everywhere, then that would get that would be a tedious kind of change because it would affect a lot of stuff. So that's another issue that we can address. And let's see. We don't need to go into the details of too many of these other ones, but this is going to be interesting from the modeling perspective. So when we consider data changes for this app, something about the data model is she wants to behave differently. So let's look at the data model for a minute and let's talk about it. Currently, there is a foreign key relationship between a grade level and a course. You can see it right here. Here's the course, and here's the grade level. And this is a currently a one-to-many relationship. So a grade level can have multiple courses, and that's it. The challenge with that is that courses are not very reusable, and something that is common for homeschool work is for certain amounts of courses to be shared between students. If you have kids that are similarly aged, they might have a course that, for all intents and purposes, is the same course. The content might be tailored a little bit based on age differences, but my children, for instance, are only a couple years apart, and so some of the subjects that we cover don't need to be that different between the two of them. Art, for instance, like kids' art is sort of kids' art for a while. So we need to change this modeling relationship to go from a one-to-many to a many-to-many, so that a single course can be mapped to multiple grade levels. And that's going to be an important thing to make those courses reusable. So that's representing this issue right here, issue 79, to change that relationship. And I don't know what kind of rippling effects that will have, because that many-to-many relationships are a bit more complicated than foreign key relationships in the code. So I'm not sure where that's going to impact things. We'll have to explore that one as we get into it. And then this final one is sort of a follow-on to that, of in that world where there is a many-to-many relationship between grade levels and courses, she would like the ability to add specific tasks that might only appear for a certain grade level. So let's pick art again, just for the sake of discussion. And perhaps there's a bit of an art history element for my son, who's a little bit older. I don't think that's really the case, but we'll work with this as an example. So maybe there are some tasks that he would have to do that my youngest one, my daughter, would not have to do because she's in kindergarten and he's a second grader. So in that scenario, she wants to be able to add extra tasks that are only associated for the grade level. So I need to add a way to do grade level specific tasks. And my thought to do that was to add an additional foreign key onto the task that would be a nullable foreign key that would point to a grade level. So if that would be able to represent the state where if that field is null, then it would apply to any grade level that happens to be connected to that task. But if that field had a grade level associated with it, then that work would only apply to that particular student who is in that grade level. So those are some of the big changes that are there, and that's what we're going to be working on throughout the next couple streams, I imagine, because I want to do this work takes priority in my mind over the actual onboarding work, because I need to satisfy my first customer first. Okay, so that's the overview of what's going on in this milestone. Let's get into some of these. You know what, let's try and fix this print one and see what happens. And I don't know it. So The other thing that is a big issue here is that the target browser that I'm focusing on is Chrome. My wife doesn't use Firefox, so I'm mostly concerned that Chrome works. I know that's probably terrible of me not doing full cross-browser support, but at this stage, I only have to satisfy one person. So we're going to log into the app on localhost, and we're still logged in. And so we should be able to see this. I don't know how this is going to come out on the stream, but we'll try. If I try and print this, and it's loading up a preview, you can see what's happening. This Wednesday column, the one that's highlighted, is having a problem with what it's doing to the horizontal lines on this print view. So something is messing stuff up. And in all likelihood, it is the gray background color that's here. So so what needs to happen is we need to change the print style so that that will not be the case anymore. And that's going to be a little tricky, probably. So we'll poke on it. The first thing we'll do is we'll go to that template. That's a core template, and it's for the app view, which is where it is. And to test out our theory, what I would like to do is find out which of the CSS classes is causing the problem so that we can actually fix them. Because what I've done to make the print views work is sprinkle in some extra classes that override behavior for print scenarios. I have a print-specific CSS page that is included only when the media type is print. And let's see if I can find where that file is included so we can make that concrete. So here's the head tag of my entire site. And you can see that we have Tailwind included all the time, but we have this special print CSS thing that's only included when media is print. And if you know the way that CSS works, there are different scenarios when a style sheet will be used. And if you set this media equals print attribute, that CSS style sheet will only come into play when the print dialog comes up, when you're actually trying to print something. And printing is an important feature that my wife wants for this application. So this is something that is important to me to fix. So you can see that what my print style does is really just kind of knocks out some of the stuff that Tailwind was providing and takes it out. So I think we'll probably need some like print no color or some kind of attribute once we identify the CSS class that is changing that print layout in a negative way. And then we will once we've got it identified, we will add a new print class to this file and then sprinkle that into our actual CSS classes stuff that goes into the table. Hopefully that makes enough sense. So we don't need base for the moment. And frankly, until we find the issue, we don't need the print CSS file either. Let's find where the problem is. So as I said, it was in Chrome. And it's the background color gray, probably. There's a background color that's used here. We gotta find it and take it out. So BG gray. Okay. So how can we test this? Well, I can just mangle it for a minute. Let's just delete a letter from it, or a character, it doesn't really matter. So now we have two classes that are not correct anymore. And I guess there's a third one down here. So I've taken out just a few characters from them. Probably should have taken out the same character, but we refresh the page. Okay, we've still got the header to deal with, so I missed one. But now if we do a print on it, let's see what it looks like. Okay. That clearly was the issue because those things have gone away. Or the artifact of the line styling that was getting messed up by the color has gone away. So let's undo those 3 spots. And so the correction that we have to make probably is to do what? I don't know if we either have to explicitly set it to white to get that to appear properly, or if we have to unset a color. It's a strange one to me that we even need to do this at all. Okay, but I know, at the minimum, we know we need to add something to this print CSS. And let's assume that it's an issue that we want to take out the color. Or it might be, it might be easier to try and fix it by explicitly setting the color to white. So this is a speculative change. I don't normally I like understanding the problems fully, and I don't in this case, but we're making a change that we think is going to fix it, and we're going to test it to validate it. So it's probably okay in that regard. So we'll change this to any spot that has this BG gray. We will add after it, and that's important. It needs to come after. We will add print white. Okay, and we'll do that here. Whoops, here, and I don't need it up on the header. That doesn't really matter because that whole thing gets hidden. Need it here, and then here. So I've added that white to everything. And so this is the important part to observe. The class is definitely setting the color to white. But as you can see here, I've refreshed this page and it still has that light gray. And that's because that media attribute is not coming into play. But when we go to print it, the media attribute, so it's not, so that did not fix it. In fact, that looks really terrible. But this is why we test. Okay, good to know. We'll keep poking on it. So the other thing we need to do then, whoops, is to see if we can unset the color. And I don't, honestly, like off the top of my head, I don't remember how to do that. So what I'm going to do is come to the place where the color is set. And you can see it's this particular div has BG gray on it. And if we come down here, here it is, BG gray. Although it's defined in terms of RGBA, which is curious. So what I'm going to do, that's what it is. I messed up it's not color, it's background color. Oops. So that's why it looks so terrible in the printout, because I was using white text. It was white text on a light gray background, I think, which is just awful. All right, let's try this again. So maybe I did have it right. Okay, still wrong, but at least the text is back to looking okay. So background color is the right attribute, but we need to unset it. Let's go to this thing. We'll go to the element style. So if you ever need to change CSS on the fly, DevTools has this nice thing where you can go to set the style of that particular element that you happen to be on right now. So if I would change this to background color of red. You can see on the fly it gets changed to red. So I want to see if I can, looks like unset might be the property that we actually care about. And so let's try that. Let's change this to unset and refresh the page. We still have the gray. And now if we come to the print view, we come to the print view. There it is. Okay. So something about having a color there, and I don't know if it was the RGBA setting. Frankly, print on the web is kind of messed up, and it's not truly a dark art, but it's not as easy as it should be. And there's probably browser differences because it's a corner of a browser that gets used less than other parts. So a little off the beaten path. So there are weird scenarios that can come up. So then now that we've unset this color, it does seem to make a clear printout, which is good. So that fixes that issue. So we can look at it to review. And, print white's not going to be the right name though. So we'll call this actually print no color. That seems like a better name than print white. And close that. And so anywhere we've got print white, we will change to print no color. Okay. And we'll refresh the page once more and do a print on it just to make sure it's still going. That looks all good. All right, so let's review again. We've got this print style that is unsetting the background color so that it won't interfere with the display of that. And in order to correct that, I went to any place that applied the background gray that was going to be printed and took it out by using this print no color. So that's the whole change. And it's 2 files that need to be modified. We'll add them to Git and we'll commit them and say fix print, fix the weekly print style for the highlighted day. And this fixes number 73. Okay. So 2 down. We're going for the easy ones, but that's okay. I like making progress early. Okay, this is another good one that we can do. One of the things that needs to happen is work can be graded. Not everything has grades, but some of them do. And I have a flow in the setup where if there's a daily view, and when the view is being completed, check off all the items and mark the work as complete. If any of those things that's being completed at that moment has an assignment or a grade associated with it, then a page is presented where there's an opportunity to input that grade. The reality is you don't always have the grade available at that moment. Maybe she hasn't graded them yet. So she wants the ability to skip that step. Totally reasonable. But there needs to be a place where when she does have the grade, how does she go back and add the grades to stuff? So that's what this page is for. There needs to be a button that lets her input her grades, and grades have scores. So we agreed that the name for the button should be input scores. And we're going to put it on a page that isn't doing a whole lot yet. In fact, it's doing absolutely nothing. It's a blank page. We're going to change this page. And for now, I don't imagine this being the final view of this, but for now, this is just going to be a button, a single button that says Input Scores. And it will take to the page that displays anything that still needs grades. So we're going to go to the students. Well, where is this template? That's a good question. I believe it's the students page area. Maybe it's not though. Okay. So what is this? Oh, it's not going anywhere yet. There's a view here. So this is linking straight to the root of the site. So this page doesn't even exist yet. So this is the template that exists for the root of the site. So we need a new view. Okay, a little bit more than I anticipated, which is cool. We get to write a test and write some new code. So let's do it. The URLs for the site. Let's look at that to see where all of these live and see what makes sense. There is already a place that is intended for students, and it is at the students URLs file. We'll bring that up. And so this view is right here. That's the view we want to link to, is the students grade view. And this view right here that's above it is for anytime this gets clicked. So when we're looking at a particular student's view of what tasks do they have to do, that's what the other student's view is. And you can see it up here. It's got this pattern of /students / UUID courses and then another UUID. It's a long URL, but it's meant to be long to keep things as secure as I can reasonably do through URLs. But we're going to put an index page on the students page, I guess is the point. We'll come into, how should we do this? Let's do a little test-driven development. How about that? We'll go to the students test views file, and we'll call this the students index class test student. Yeah, I'll keep it singular, or that better. This is technically about multiple students, so I'm going to be a weirdo and use plural, even though that might not be the most sensible. The first thing we need is a test that unauthenticated access is not permitted. And so we'll call it students index, and the students index page isn't going to need any parameters. This is the whole test. And this should fail because it's not going to know what to look up right now. Okay, so this is exactly what I expected. There's no reverse match, which is a Django's way of saying there's no URL that could be found for this. So we'll continue to use a test-driven development approach to create this. So we'll make a new path, and it's going to be at /. And it's going to be at / because if you recall, the way that URLs work is they kind of tier up. So since this URLs is included at students /, that means, actually, in fact, I think I'm doing this wrong. It shouldn't even be a /, it should be empty. That's more accurate. So everything that is in this students URLs file is rooted underneath students /. So an empty path in this area is going to be equivalent to students /. And so we want to change this view to instead be the students index view, which doesn't exist yet, but that's okay. And then we'll name it index. And now if we run the test, it's going to complain there is no students index view. Not surprising, because I didn't create one yet. But as far as the URLs file cares, it's done. there's nothing else to add there. So when that view does exist, it'll just do the right thing, I think. So we're going to the views file, and we want to create a new class-based view, and we're going to call it the students index view. And we need to give it a template for the moment. And I'm just going to recycle the template that's right there just in order just to get the test to pass. So this test is now passing, and it's passing because of the login required mixin that's right there. Because what this thing is checking is, did this view provide a redirect of a 302 that went to the login page? That's what it's really checking. So we have that as proof. And then we can also test, what do I want? I basically want this test. We want to do a get check 200. A get check 200 just says, are you showing the right thing and returning a 200 response. So we're going to, this test should probably pass at this moment. Oh, nope. 404. Why did you give a 404? We have a student index view. It has a template, that's fine, that shouldn't matter. And the user's logged in. So what's the problem here? Font status code is not the 404. That's weird. Okay, so I must be doing something slightly off here. That is definitely the name of the view is students index. I'm pretty positive of that, because we have students course and students grade, and the students URL has the name of index, and this has course and grade. Okay, so what's the problem? Let's see if we can figure this out. Let's connect it up. Let's wire it together, and then click on it in the actual app and see what's going on. So here we have the page that is not connected right now. I'm going to change it to point to the right place, and that's going to be students index, like that. And it might tell us exactly the same information of it can't find it, it's going to 404, but it might give us more information why. Okay. So the template, because the template has more stuff in it, it was failing, and the template is doing too much. Okay, well, I now feel better about myself and the state of Django because I was super confused by what's happening. So let's fix this appropriately. Let's change this to a template that doesn't exist. And now this test will fail, but I expect it to fail for a different reason, because the template doesn't exist. So what we need to do is create a new index template. And we'll go to the students area and get the grade template, because that's a good place to start. We'll create a new file called index.html and paste in the content. And we'll set the header to, say, students for now. I'm not going to be very creative about this. And we'll change the tag inner content to be students as well. And we don't need a form here, so I'm going to do to delete all of that. And so now the view Hey, Python CodeBot, welcome. If you got any questions, let me know. We're just going through some issues that I'm fixing up. And yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. So now the test should pass. And it does. Cool. And now, if we do a refresh, it should actually load. Okay, that's good news. I feel better about things. So we've got this students label that's going to be our header. And then underneath it, we're going to actually put the button that we care about. And so I need to find a button that I can use. And where's a button that we can use? We can use on the daily page, templates daily. I think there's a button down here. Yeah. Okay. So I don't actually want a button. I want an anchor tag. And I don't need to have a top margin, although we'll probably need to have some bottom margin in it. And my spouse wanted it to say input scores. And the place to go to, well, okay, let's also get rid of the type submit at the end. Is there a way to see? I don't think so. I'm actually using Hugo to generate my personal site, and Hugo wants to paginate that stuff for loading efficiencies and all of that stuff. So yes, I do see your point that it would be nice if they were all in a single page. And I'm not trying to get around that with the tool that I'm using to build my website. Aside from turning off pagination, which I don't think I want to do because I have been writing articles for a decade, so it's a lot of articles, and that's a lot of images, and I don't think my tool would be very smart about not loading some images or versus loading others. So that could be quite a hit on somebody who is coming from a mobile browser or whatever. So that's the rationale for why it's doing that. Yeah. So I wish there was a better way to do that, or a secret page that I could point you to of here's all the stuff, but I don't have one offhand. Sorry. So we're gonna add. Sorry, excuse me. Got a frog in my throat. Yeah, I wish there was a good way to expose it. And, it kind of depends what you're looking for, Python CodeBot. I do have a bunch of tags pages, which are kind of buried at the bottom. Actually, let's bring it up, just because we can. So maybe Django's not your thing. Maybe it is. Perhaps that's why you're here. But there is a categories and tags section that will filter down to different areas. So if you don't want to look at 19 pages, well, you got 11 pages because I read a lot of Django stuff. But so that's one way to filter it. Tags also has a lot of tags. I don't frankly like this page that much, but it's something. And I don't even know, like, why did I tag one with replace? What the heck is this? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, welcome back. Yeah, I remember you had your name was, I always wanted to say J4 Spot, and then you said it was J Spot, and people got confused. So, hey, welcome. It's good to see you. Or good to see your handle, I guess, because I'm not actually seeing you. You're seeing me. So that's what's going on there. Okay, let's get back to the issue at hand, if we can. We're going to add an href that is a URL that will link to the students not the index page. That would be the same page. We want to link to the grade page. And that's the button. So let's come over and reload things. Okay, so we need to give some space to this so it can actually breathe. We'll say margin bottom of 8 and add a little bit of space. And now that we can click this button and it takes her to the page for any incomplete grades that are there. I've designed this so that the grade page is like the one-stop shop for grades. So it's anything that has been marked as complete as a task that has no grade associated with it will show up on this page. And that gives her the way to do this. Oh yeah, what have you been working on, Python CodeBot? Yeah, productive during quarantine. Stay busy. Keep your mind off of things. So I wanted to give a page that would have a single place to do all this stuff, so that she could be as effective as she can be. Okay. Are you following the official Django tutorial, or are you following something else? Cool. Yeah, that's a good start. A lot of people so I just said that I use Hugo for my personal website, but in terms of, okay, I'm not familiar with CFE, or at least I don't know the abbreviation. A lot of people get into into Django by building their own blog, and that's a good way to add to your portfolio too. Coding for entrepreneurs. Oh, I'm not sure I know what that is. Entrepreneurs. Is this the site, Coding for Entrepreneurs? Cool. I love that there's so many resources out there. Nice. I can't really speak to what's in here, but this looks like a pretty good list of stuff. Well, good luck with whatever you're working on. Oh, they've got a YouTube channel. Okay. Nice. So I went the route, instead of using Django, I wrote my own static site generator that I used for years. Well, okay. My route is a bit more circuitous than that. I started out on WordPress. Ooh, is it still even? It's got to be still on the internet. I've not taken it down. And I was being cute and called my website Layman's Terms Dev, because my last name is Layman, and I have heard that joke a million times. Well, it's so buried on the internet now that if it even is still running, it's not there anymore. So I went from using a WordPress blog, and then I did, well, this is kind of interesting history out of because all of this content, like dating back to the beginning, the very last page of stuff that's on there, page 19, I guess, if you will, does date back to my original version of my blog. And so I did a WordPress blog first, just because it was easy and I wasn't interested in learning about programming through building a blog, because I did programming in college and knew that much, knew that to a certain level. But I was interested in server administration. How long have I been coding for? Well, when I started college is when I did my first coding stuff, and I've got a little gray in here. You probably can't see, but so I started college in 2002. So that puts me at 18 years. Holy crap. When I say it that way, it's terrifying. So yeah, when I was getting into a blog, though, I had gotten out of school. I was in my first job, and I just needed something to do at the time. So I was learning how to deal with Linux, and I was learning server administration. And so I took my old PC because I still went to school when you would get an actual like desktop PC rather than everybody uses a laptop now, to my knowledge. But I had an old PC that was just sitting around not doing anything in my apartment. And I wanted to put it on, oh, geez, nearing 2 decades. Gosh, that's awful. Thanks for rubbing that in, dude. So I had this PC that was sitting in the corner of my apartment, and I wanted to just see if I could get it on the internet. And I learned a ton of stuff about getting a machine on the internet, dealing with my broadband provider was not providing a consistent IP address, so I needed a place that would deal with like floating IP addresses for DNS. And I used, at the time, to build the site, I used a piece of software that gets used for like blog aggregators. So it's called Planet, I think. Yeah. Nope, that's not it. That's actually about planets. Let's see. Planet blog. Shoot. I swear there's a piece of software called Planet. So if you like go to planet.python.org, there it is. Powered by, it's planetplanet.org. Okay. This piece of software is singularly designed to aggregate blogs from over the web and make a static page out of them. And so in my infinite wisdom, I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea at the time, but I thought, you know what I'll do? I'll set up a Planet site on my little local computer and just put my own blog on there, pointing from WordPress into this site. So I set up like cron jobs to like try and scrape this stuff every night because I wanted to have my own domain name. I don't know that I had Matt Lehman yet. I think I had to use a different domain name because I had this dynamic DNS configuration. But that was my foray into blogging. And after I evolved out of that stage of using this website, which is of course not coming up, I built my own static site generator because why not? And so I built one in Python, and it's still out there today. And in theory, you could still use it, although I guess I haven't touched it now in 6 years. Jeez, time. What the heck, man? So I built my own, and then I put it on GitHub Pages, and then I put it on Netlify. And at some point, I got tired of maintaining my own static site generator, so I switched over to Hugo. And at that point, I didn't look back because it's nice not to have to be the maintainer of your own tool just to make a blog in the long run. So that's the story there. I bet this is still up too. But this was a nice, fun little project to work on for a while. So there's the history of my website. And now I'm here with something that I think is decent. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it works. Okay, where were we? Aside from traveling down memory lane. We've got this button now, and does it do what we need it to do? It takes you to the grades page, which is what she wanted. And after I hit the exit button, it will go back to the daily view. That's probably good enough for now. I don't know that she will have an expectation of coming back to the same students page, at least right now. Sometimes when I'm thinking about these flows, it is not only thinking about how do I get to a spot, how do I get to a new URL, but where do I want to go after that in terms of optimizing the flow and making the best continuity there. But in this case, I don't think that's super important. So we'll leave that alone. And if she changes her mind, she'll let me know. So we've got that new view. We've got tests for it. We've added to the URLs file. We added a template for it, and we connected that in the subnav. And we created an entirely new template. So the new template is very, very basic right now. Okay, cool. Another one down. Let's commit this. And we'll say add a button to go to the grades page. This fixes number 78. All right. Let's see if we can get one more in there. I don't know that we'll be able to finish all of one, but we'll try. And then maybe I'll probably work a couple of these offline because, as I said at the beginning of the stream, they're very down into the weeds of the business logic, and frankly, like, it makes some of the queries that I have to do and some of the logic that I've had to think through, it's sort of painful to think through. So I don't want to subject all of you to that because, yeah, not so fun. This one should be closed. I didn't push it up, so it didn't actually close. Okay, now it's closed. And we've got 3 down, 7 to go. So that was kind of well, I guess that had some view code in it. I'm trying to think of the categories of stuff that we're solving and see if there's anything that keep the diversity up a little bit. Move all the buttons. Okay. This is going to be troublesome because I'm not sure I know where all the buttons are anymore. So maybe the first thing to try is search through the templates for where are the buttons. So I'm going to search for button because I have the button tag. And I have a templates directory. And that can bring up the buttons that we need to look for. And some of these buttons are going to be on pages that we don't care about right now. But then others are. So in fact, how can I convince RG to just tell me the files? Oh, okay. So speaking of RG, if you have not used this tool, you should. It's amazing. It's called ripgrep, and it's like the grep tool, but more awesome. It's so fast that I almost think it seems like it's broken. It's going so fast that's like, how can it possibly go through so many files so quickly? So this is a tool that's built in the Rust programming language, and it just is really a fast tool. So anytime you see me use RG on the command line, it is a tool for searching through a bunch of files quickly. And it's called ripgrep. Sorry, I keep having a frog in my throat tonight. But what I'm looking for in this circumstance is a flag to say, what are the files only? And I've got to believe that there's one that will just tell me the files. Okay. -- files, maybe? Let's bring up the command, and we'll say files. Was it really in all of those places? I don't remember it being in base. Oh, no. I clearly didn't use it right because it thinks button is a file name that it should be looking for. Okay, so what did I misread about that? Print each file that would be searched without actually performing. Oh, that's not what I want. Oops. Only print the paths with at least. Okay, there's the very next option. So -L is what we really want. Oops. Not -L. There we go. So this is the places that we need to check to see if the buttons are in the right spot. And here, let's do this the Vim way. So we'll do a vertical split on, I don't know, stuff. Nope, not a vertical split. A split on stuff to give us a scratch space. And we're going to take all of these and we'll do an insert and do a star. And I'm trying to make checkboxes out of these. Actually, I don't think I want the leading space. We'll take all of that and we'll copy it into GitHub. Because these are the files that I want to check to see if we need them or not. So it gives us a nice little to-do list that we can check off. And we'll go through them. Okay, not super exciting, but this is why I'm thankful that my wife told me at the beginning that she wanted the buttons over on the right side of the form, because had I been months or much farther when she decided she doesn't like that, this list could have been exceedingly long. Okay, so we've got we don't need this little buffer anymore. Put out of there. And I guess technically I also have ripgrep built into my editor, so we've got a list that we can work from. So I actually didn't really need to bring that up into GitHub. I could search for buttons or button on the templates directory, and Vim will give me in the quick fix list, that's what this guy is down here, every instance of button that it can find. And we'll just go through them. So the logout button, that's on the nav. That does not apply. And start course. Okay, this is on the, I've been doing onboarding flows, which I can bring up by looking at the start page. And there are a set of buttons on each of these pages. But the difference with these buttons is that they are specifically placed for the flow. Although, now that I say that, here's an example where this stuff, based on what she said, maybe this should belong over here. At the same time, maybe it shouldn't for onboarding, since this form is meant to be so simple. Okay, let's try it. Let's change it. We are on, this is the course page, so we're on the right template here. And what do we want to do? It's a matter of now setting the right alignment on this flex column. So we have a button that's here, and all we want to do is move it to the right. And I don't, the wrong solution would be to say float right. That's not right. So let's go to Tailwind. And let's go to Flex. And I don't remember which part of Flex here. So there's a bunch of Flex sections. And this is going to be an item, I think. Flex end, maybe, or items end. No, that's the vertical positioning. So So this is what I love about Tailwind, is they provide these examples so you can visually see what was intended. Content end doesn't feel right either. That's again putting something at the bottom. And all of these things seem like they have to do with the y-axis. Not what I want. Flex right. I don't know. I don't know why I'm struggling with this particular flex category. Flex right align. Oops. Aligning items in a flex container. So there's justify. Oh, maybe it's a justify category. I thought justify only meant centered, but maybe there are different places. Justify end, probably. Okay, there it is. Justify end. So if we add it, let's try adding it just to this div right here. See if it was in the right place. Justify end. Refresh. Okay. So now, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Because I can understand, her point was like on this page, on a page where you have a bunch of things to enter, like this scenario where you're adding a new task and there's a bunch of fields, that it made sense to have the button over here. But this page to start is a very specialized page. It is meant to be like your guided tour through the site. And the way this is looking to me, like I don't know how it looks to you, but to me, like I see my head slanting, and I don't know, maybe it's all steering in the right direction to be guided that way. But it's all just a personal taste issue. Okay. Well, at some point I'm going to have her walk through the onboarding process probably, and I'll ask her opinion about it then. So I will put this button here where she wants it positioned, and we'll declare that the thing to do. So we looked at nav. We looked at, this is start course. That's done. Let's go to the next one. So daily. Daily has this save button at the bottom. Okay. This one could be strange because I think where this button is positioned right now, if I did this blindly, it will put it all the way over down here in the bottom corner, which will feel very out of place. I also feel like this particular page, since it's not really a form, it's more like a UI element at the bottom, that perhaps it doesn't belong in the list. So for the time being, I'm going to leave it there. No, I'm not the boss. That's the problem. Okay, so let's do this right. So she wants this in a certain spot, so we need to make sure that it is the right width, and the width that she has for this, or the width that I've specified, is this 3XL. We're going to put a div here. Did I just pull two? I did. Okay, well, that's okay. Is it? And hopefully I didn't yank that. Okay, I don't know what I did by accident, but one line. We'll come here, put that there, and put a closing div tag. We don't need this to be a flex or a flex row. We do. Actually, we do. Take that back. Because justify applies to flex containers. So we are going to be hiding this. That was already on the button, but now that we have a container, a wrapping container, we can take that off the button. And we can say justify end. So ideally, yeah, cool. That puts it over here. So click, 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 save. This is something I don't personally understand, but she said that her natural instinct is to go down to the bottom right corner and click save. Cool. So now that's over there, and just to check that we didn't break the printing, let's do a quick print on this. Of course, Firefox doesn't show that preview, so we'll do this in Chrome quickly. And print. And good, the button's still gone. Cool. So that takes care of the daily template. I don't know why these are going every other. I guess Vim sorts this a little differently. We have the grades page, which we just made a convenient link to and take advantage of now. Come over to the students, go to the input scores. So this is going to be one where we're going to have to flip, like put the save in the corner and put exit next to it. So not only is it justify end, but has to flip the two buttons around. Hopefully I did not make a crude gesture there to some international community. Streaming on the internet is hard. Okay. So we've got justify end that we can add here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so like I said, the buttons are now in the right spot, but they're in the wrong order. So we'll take the save button and put it below. Ooh, this might, yeah. Okay, so this stuff is tricky because look at that. Like that was initially when it was flipped, I had an appropriate amount of padding on this button, or margin, I should say. The exit. It's hard. Well, it's hard for me to see because of my flux. But when I hover over this, if you look at the left side, there's a small amount of padding there, because that's by the margin left 2 that's there. So we need to move that margin left 2 onto the save button here. So I will come over here after padding and add margin left 2, and we'll delete it from this button version and that button version. Now if we refresh the page, now we've got appropriate margin between our two buttons. Okay, so that's the grade page. Nice. These aren't too hard to do, thankfully. There is going to be one page that has 3 buttons that will be a little bit more difficult, but that's okay. What's next in the list? Okay, we already handled that's just the closing tag for the button. We don't need to do anything about that. So start school year, that's another one of those starting flow pages. We'll bring this back up and we'll go back to start school year. Okay, we'll have to tweak the template to be able to see this because I already have some data here. So it's actually, the template is doing the right thing. So we're going to have to get in here to display this in the right state. So let's switch that to not for a second. And that should give us the access to the form, I think. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go to the button, just down, way over here, and come to the end and say justify end, and do a refresh. And there we go. There's our boom, boom, boom button. And before we forget, let's take out the not that we did. Let's start school year. We've got a course edit page. I think I've used this as my example a couple times. This is a generic page. Courses, course edit. I think it is. No, because it says update, so there must be a different one. Or adding a task. Oh, this is a course task. That says something else. So let's go to the courses, and we'll go to a particular one, and we'll edit it. And here we've got the situation again, where these two things are there, and we'll switch them around. So we've got, we'll switch this to be what? The button is going to go, and the update button will go after cancel. And we've got this scenario again where we've got to take the margin that's here and put it here. And then we need to add justify end to the container. And if everything went right, then we should see this flipped around. So there's the spacing between them. The two are flipped, so that's good. So that is the course edit page down here. All right, not too many more of these to go, I think. Okay, we haven't done the grade level. That's another one of these steps in the flow. So this is where I'm kind of questioning this button change, because when I've been doing these steps, I've been alternating the pictures, and we did the course one and we did the school year, so the button stays kind of middle aligned. But when we switch to using, why is that not loading? There it goes. When we switch to using this view, the button is actually going to be flush right, and it's going to be on the right edge of this page, which might be a little weird. We'll have to see how it looks. So in order to display it, we need to get into the next case where, oh, that's the start school year page, not where we want to be. We want the grade level page. So I think my sample data already has a grade level, so it's trying to send us to the next step. So we'll put a not in here, and if we redisplay, then you see this. So this will now move over. Come down to where the button is, and say justify end. Thankfully, it's an easy change. So this is where I'm like, this doesn't feel so good, because it looks a little weird to have left aligned text here. I think it's centering this too. There's a problem. Anyway, sorry. It's having paragraphs that are left aligned, and then we have a form that is kind of going to the right edge because of its space constraints. And also the button is going over there as well. So it makes it feel it's a little like lopsided to me. But again, I am not the customer. So in some more future user testing, when I ask my spouse to go through this onboarding flow, she can say, that looks stupid or not. Or maybe that she'll say that looks perfect. I don't know. Okay, so got that done. So let's take out the not here, but that's back to normal. And that takes care of the grade level, which is this guy. And we did the school year one, didn't we? Yeah, I just didn't mark it. Did the school year. We've got the sign up page. Okay. My sign up page only appears and a feature flag is on. So before testing this one, let's make sure that the flag is on. And come to flags. Okay, the sign up flag is on, so that my test data should be fine. And I think the easiest way that's going to be to test this is to take this URL, bring up a private window, paste in that. It will send us to the login page. And like, here's an example of, I don't think I want to change this. I think I want the login to be in line there. I think the sign up page is very similar once it comes up. So I think this is one where I'm going to push against this, and well, I'll make a note to ask her. I don't think she particularly cares about this one, but you know, when you're doing user testing, like she was focused on a very particular form, and so the comment may not always generalize to the entire system. I'm shooting for consistency within the system, so maybe it does make sense to actually put the button over here and have these things backwards. I'm not positive about that one, and I don't feel confident enough that I'm going to say on sign up and login, check with customer. We can skip those two for now. So that means we only have two more to consider. And this course task one is the harder one. Let's do the delete one next, because I think this one is a pretty simple kind of page. I don't actually. All right, well, I guess we've got to delete a task in order to do this. I'm trying to remember when this page even shows up. Here's a delete button. Okay, here it is. Okay, well, let's be consistent. So this is something that is just a very simple straight line of HTML tags. So we need to give it a div, which is going to be a class, and it'll be a flex row with a max. What do we say? Max width 3XL, I think was the styling. Max width. Yep. Max W3XL. And we want to say justify end. And put a div there. Let's see how that looks. That looks a little strange to me. But maybe we can fix that enough by making it a 2XL. Or is that even weirder by having the button now be not all the way? Okay, I think this one just doesn't make any sense to have that button way over there. It's way out of place. There's no, this isn't really like a form. This is like a, I mean, it technically is a form, but this is a confirmation page. So this one I'm going to leave alone. And we'll just mark it off. Okay, so that leaves one, which is the harder of them, but it's not significantly harder. It's the course task form, and it's the page that we were looking at right before this. So here's a scenario where we need to flip around 3 buttons. So we define the delete button just here, and thankfully, well, what's going on here? Oh, right. So we've got 2 cases that we actually need to consider. So this is more work than is immediately obvious. So we can't just say justify end on the whole row. We need to put it on this specific thing. So let's work on the update side first, because that's what we can see, and then we'll create a new task that will finish that off. If we switch this around and put update last, let's just do what seems like the easy thing and completely reverse these. Let's put delete at the top and update below it and see how badly this gets messed up. And while we're in here, fix the spacing because something seemed to happen there. But I can tell like immediately that this is going to look weird because the flex grow, yeah. So the cancel is being grouped with the wrong thing. But this might be very solvable by just moving this div above. But now that we've done that, we've got that same problem that we had earlier where the button is sort of jammed up next to the update button. We need to take the margin left 2 and put it here. So we've got the proper spacing between the buttons. Delete is now over here. And this is the view that she wanted to see. So that takes care of the update side of this. But we also need to have the ability to add a new task. Let's come into any random spot because it doesn't really matter. And see that the add button is over here. So this is a matter of changing changing what? Changing this to be justify end, I think. If we get that right. Nope. Okay, so what happened here? Didn't like that change. Because why? Either I didn't spell something right. Yeah, I'm not actually seeing the justify end class show up in here. Did I spell it right? Oh, I'm not looking at the right element. Now we're looking at justify end. But it seems like it's not applying in this case. Ah, nice. Thanks, Firefox. The justified content has no effect on this element since it's neither a flex container nor a grid container. Oh, okay. So this div, okay, so this thing is the flex container above, but this particular div inside of it is not. But I don't want to put a justify end on the entire container, I think. Although, if that's the easy solution that works, then let's try it for a moment and see if it will do the trick. Nope. Why did you not do the trick? Let's come back in here. Go to the same. This says flex. It is saying it's implying. The other solution that we can do is the one that I've been applying elsewhere, is just to put another flex container inside of this width, which is probably the easiest solution that is going to have the least amount of hurt on my brain. So let's change this to be a flex row, justify end. And this is probably not the right way to do these things. You shouldn't just layer on flex after flex. But sometimes it doesn't matter that much. Okay, it did the trick. Buttons at the end. So that's okay. I wonder, okay, one final thought before actually switching to that. Maybe flex might actually be overkill for what we're trying to do. So let's look for align. This might be a scenario where we can just do a text right, which does a text align. So let's keep it simple for a moment, where we have the button, and try text right, and see if that does the trick. It was over here. Okay, that's simpler. It doesn't involve adding a new flex container, because flex is like, justify end is trying to put everything at the end. But when there's only a single element, why? Why go through that extra rigmarole when you can just do a text alignment over here? And this would look weird if I also had like a paragraph's worth of text or some kind of text here, because everything would be, with the text right, everything would be over there. But this is only ever going to be a button. So I think text right is the simplest solution to this. And it's the least amount of DOM elements, it's the fewest amount of CSS classes, it's the fewest amount of bytes. It's probably the optimal solution. So where does that get us? That gets us down to this form is now good. And in fact, now that I've made that other change, let's check it one more time to see if this is the add task form. And let's look at the edit task to make sure that still looks okay. That looks okay, and both of them look okay. So that kind of knocks out all of the form updates to switch the buttons around. And the two remaining on login and sign up, I'm going to ask my spouse about and see if she cares, or if she wants them to change. So we have gone through quite a few of our feedback issues that I had received. And I think this is a good place to stop for the evening. On the next stream, we will probably focus on one of these bigger modeling changes. Particularly, it's likely that it will be this one, working on changing the type of relationship between the grade level and the course to model that many-to-many relationship that I had mentioned at the beginning of the stream. So Thank you for tuning in this week, and hope you learned something new. I will post this content up on YouTube after it's over, so if you want to go back and refer to something, you're welcome to do so. If you have any questions for me, please reach out on Twitter or join the Discord below and ask questions in there. I'm happy to try and answer them. It's a pretty quiet Discord, so if I don't answer right away, I will get to it. I promise. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Take care.